Right as I cut over, I immediately feel like I need a cough. No, Billionaire Buster here. Alex, it's here. It's a Tuesday. There was a stream just 2 days ago. This is what I said I was gonna do. Gonna try to do 2 streams a week for the next month. See how that feels. But yeah, Tuesday streams. I said they'd be me playing video games. This first one though, we're gonna do something a little different than that. I mean, just whatever. They're the more chill stream. Is that Sunday is the more deliberately trying to like make political points in content. Tuesday it'll be more either just kind of chilling with video games, or in this case, just like watching, talking about, reacting to some YouTube videos. And what I think is going to be our first pick, I opened this on the last stream, and it's 41 minutes, so that's with whatever time I end up taking to pause and share my own thoughts and commentary. Well, this will probably be the bulk of the. This will probably just be what the stream is. So, start things off properly though. We're gonna do a donation. Still gonna do some donations during this stream. Yeah, let's just pick this one. They're close to their goal. So let's see. Okay, so car accident. Yeah, injuries. So, lady's injured in the car accident. Sounds like she's not gonna die. Sounds like she's past the worst, out of the intensive care unit, but definitely very expensive. Expensive and time and recovery, and just trying to get accommodations. And shit costs money, so definitely someone who is, asking for help, and gonna send a little bit of help their way. Just a little something from one human to another. Because I can say with these $20 I'm gonna give, I think she needs them more than I do. So it's easy. It's easy to donate. You just click some buttons, type in some text. Google autofills it for me. It knows my credit card number. Isn't that convenient? So, got that entered. And there we go. Billionaire Buster. Right on there. Part of the I'm number 852. Yeah. It's just like, helping people. It's good. It's not a problem. We're solving a problem. They're in a time of need. It says so right here on the internet screen. And so, for that, our main content for today. So I was kind of debating, I don't know whether I wanted to play a game or not. I'm feeling kind of tired. I've had a bit of a kind of busy past couple days. Man, that is a funny Vosh title. That's a very funny Vosh title. Is there a quick intro on that?
True view count. Your guys' count doesn't show people who are still viewing the video or people.
Hey, maybe that'll be one for a later date. title. It's an attention grabber. And let's see. In terms of the size of the page, how do I try to think? It's like I don't want to be like blocking, too much, but I do want to have my face, still want to have my webcam on here. What's the mini play? Oh, that's that. Oh my.
The Witness is all...
Rewind to the start. I'm just trying to think. How do I want to watch it? Let's see. Like this covers it up. Then it's like if you go full screen. You know what? Yeah, let's just go full screen. I know this game. I mean, I've seen this video before. I like it. It's a good video. But top left corner isn't anything super important, I don't think. And because I do think an important thing to do when you're doing React content, we're just chilling, we're vibing, we're watching along. Here's the name of the video. It's by Joseph Anderson. I like Joseph Anderson. I'll subscribe on this account too. He's got his channel. He does videos. They're usually some big epic productions, so it sometimes takes a while for them to come out. That's why he also does live streams on Twitch, where he plays through other games while interacting with chat and his community. And those can be pretty fun too. I like the guy. I respect his opinions. Generally, doesn't mean I always 100% agree with them. But I generally agree with him, and for the most part, I always see where he's coming from. Same would be like his Mario Odyssey video, where I had a bit more of a positive experience with Mario Odyssey, but I can't really argue against a lot of the stuff he said with his criticisms of it. Hi, kitty. Oh my gosh, my kitty cat is right here. I'm going to just pick him up and put him on my lap, because he's probably going to try to walk across the keyboard and then sit right next to the mic, even though there's no friggin' space. Do you want to go on my lap? Do you want to sit? Do you want to sit on my lap? You want to sit? You want to sit, bud? You're my profile picture here. Oh, you say I love you too. Do you want to sit? He doesn't know what he wants to do. It's like he's a cat or something. But yeah, Joseph Anderson. You can. I highly recommend checking his content. The man has 4 kids. He needs all the viewers he can get. 4 kids. I hope he stops. I don't know how many more kids he can reliably maintain. He's got fucking 4 of them. That's a lot. Oh, it's funny on the streams too, because sometimes you hear the kids. The oldest ones are like 6 or 7 now or something, so they can actually talk and play games and shit on their own. But anyway, yeah. So The Witness. So this is a 7-year-old video. My time flies. But yeah, The Witness. It's, he'll get into it. He'll explain the game, and I'll say I've never played The Witness myself. I have not personally played it. I haven't bought it. I watched this video. I don't, I mean, I hadn't bought The Witness before watching this video anyway, but definitely seeing this video makes me just, not for me. I'm not saying it's like some piece of shit game or something, but just not for me. Not quite what I'm going for. I have played some puzzly games before. Played Portal 1 and 2. Played Talos Principle. I don't play a ton of puzzle games. I like them. But I think sometimes they take so much fucking focus. Sometimes it's just like, it's like I finish from work and it's like I guess it's like puzzle games kind of feels like I'm using the same part of my brain I use for my day job, and I gotta use that shit at work. I don't have time to be solving puzzles also in my free time. But puzzle games are totally valid and can be fun. I mean, Talos Principle. I enjoyed that game. It was cool and neat, solving these like big weird 3D puzzles with, you know, literal moving parts to them, and it's cool. There's something that's just very mentally like rewarding when you know, if the puzzle's not just like a weird piece of shit, there's something about solving a puzzle. It's just like innately very like satisfying. Right? It's like unlocking one of those like weird contraption things. That's I forget what those are called. Fuck. Anyway, let's just watch the video. Have subtitles on. Have the volume a little lower because I mean, I don't know. Watch the video on your own if you want the volume maxed out. Fuck.
The Witness is all about perspective. It's the only conclusion that I can think of that pulls it all together. It's a game about experiencing things multiple times and seeing something different each time. I loved this game. I also hated it. I think you should play it. I also think you shouldn't play it. I'm not trying to be coy or difficult. This is simply how conflicted I am on the game, and after failing to write this script several times, I've resolved that the only way I can get through it is to be honest to the point of being contradictory. This video will spoil everything about this game. Reviews have purposefully omitted several important features. I will not be doing that. If you have the slightest intention of playing this game, whether it's a week from now or a year when it goes on sale, then do not watch this video. This is not a review, and this game is best played blind.
This is not a review. I am not a role model.
I already had
I am
two
not
questions
paid
I
to
wanted
be
to
a
answer
reviewer.
before I started playing The Witness. The first was, why is it called The Witness? The second was, how is the game going to keep line puzzles interesting for its entire duration? After playing the game for 50 hours, I can answer this question here with, it doesn't. And I can only propose a guess for the first one for reasons that are unfortunately so complex that it needs its own section later. So let's get...
How does it stay interesting the whole way through? Well, that's the neat thing, Mark. You don't. You don't. You just don't do that.
Right to it with what is the biggest chunk of The Witness, gameplay. The game starts like Infinifactory does, no title screen, no selecting anything, you launch the game, and after it loads you're put right at the start of the game. You have no idea where you are or where you're going, and the game doesn't even trust you with the ability to turn around yet. You have to walk forward and go through its silent tutorial. A lot has been said about this game's ability to teach you mechanics without pop-up tutorials or a helping hand. You're left to infer the rules of the puzzles being presented to you on your own. So at the start, it's as simple as drawing the line from the beginning to the end. Then there are simple modifiers to how you draw those lines that you have to follow. The puzzles here are short, so when you make a mistake, you can quickly try again. This part of the game is less about teaching you how to solve these individual puzzles, and more about laying the foundation for you to be able to work out for yourself how to solve every puzzle. Whether the game succeeds in doing this is something we'll be talking about. You're also taught that some puzzles will unlock things. In this case, you're led around by neon wires to the next panels, which eventually end at a locked gate. You open it, and now the whole island is available to you. There are 11 main puzzle hubs that you can approach in any order, although...
I'll say, just gamer-wise, I like conceptually, I like this design. This is neat. I like the open-endedness, because I think that's an important. I think that's like just design-wise, that's something worth keeping in mind with like a puzzle game. Is if a player's stuck on a puzzle, it's like in terms of the progression. If someone's stuck on one particular puzzle, because the human brain is an interesting thing. Sometimes you just get stuck on something. You're just for whatever reason, some person is just not getting what that puzzle is about. So it's usually probably a good thing with like puzzle games to be somewhat non-linear in how you can approach things. Like I'll say, I know like the Talos Principle does that, where there's a lot of times in that game where you have like 3 to 6 or like more puzzles available to you at a time, and it's like for some things you might need to solve all of them, but for some things it's like it's okay to like hop around and you can do puzzle 1 and then do puzzle like 4 in a area. And if puzzle 5 is throwing you off, you can just like just do puzzle 2 and 4, and that'll like be enough for you to get to puzzle 6. And I think that's like games like Super Mario 64 had that kind of design as a bit of a strength, where like once you have the threshold amount of stars to like get to an area or something, you could just have multiple worlds open to you, and you could choose which world you wanted to go at, and you could go for the star you were starting at, or you could like just look around and see, on any Super Mario 64 level, you could go for 8 red coins or go for 100 normal coins, or if you just see a star that's somewhere in the level, you could just try to go get that star, even if it's like not the one you're on yet. And just that kind of stuff is, it's, there's nothing inherently wrong with like having a bottleneck or having like a thing that is like you must do this to progress. It's just something to keep in mind for game design on what would work better for the game. Very quickly, it's like Dark Souls 1 has it, where Dark Souls 1 has some degree of like open-endedness where you can like approach bosses and areas in some different orders, and like if someone's doing a speed run or knows the game real well, they can do weird shit like just beelining to Blight Town before they do the Undead Burg and stuff. But then like Dark Souls also has it that in order to get to some of the endgame areas, you have to beat Ornstein and Smough, and Ornstein and Smough are kind of the like end of the second act, like beginning of the third act, like just you have to beat those guys, that boss fight. It's a very cool, epic, well-regarded boss fight, but it's like a deliberate thing where it's like the paths of progression kind of converge, and there's a point where you have to beat them, but then after you beat them, there's like 4 new areas that open up, and you can go at those 4 areas in any order before that all comes together at like a single ending again. And just things to keep in mind with the game. How is the game designed? You can put thought into these things, and the designers ideally put thought into it, and just for your own player experience, more thought you put into it, you might figure out some more about what you actually do and don't like in games, what the games do for you. Long tangents for me. That's why this video is just going to be our only objective tonight.
The game does try to guide you towards select areas first. There are 2 side areas along this path that I explored my first time through. For now, let's stop at one of them, a puzzle that is far more complex than anything you've seen so far, with shapes and concepts you haven't had to deal with yet. You can try to solve this, but the panels that teach you the rules of this puzzle are nearby, so the idea here, I think, is that most players will give up and follow the path to where they learn the rules and then turn around and go back now that they have the knowledge necessary to open this puzzle. This is trying to teach the player that if something is beyond them, that they might want to consider going somewhere else and then coming back. Maybe they haven't learned a lesson yet. So far so good, right? Well, let's continue. There are 2 areas nearby that have what I consider to be the easiest set of puzzles in the game. The Orchard series, and the Seaside set of Mirrored Lines. I went to the latter section first and completed it before moving on. This was fairly enjoyable and required a leaping guess to see that you have to use the background behind the puzzle as a guide to solve some of them. Even though I worked this out quickly, I think this is poorly communicated to the player and is too big of a departure from what came before it to be reasonably worked out. The environmental aspects in the Orchard do a much better job of this, so it might be forgivable if the game wanted you to go there first, but then the game didn't have to be an open island, so it's also not that forgivable. The rest of this area is good. I like the final series here that twists the mirrored concept by having you repeat the puzzle layouts from memory. After this, a box opens and shoots a laser beam across the island to a mountaintop. If you're human, this will be a curious enough event that you will follow the laser to that mountaintop to see what that's all about. You'll pass a few areas on your way and
Wow, Joseph Anderson accusing people who played the game differently than him of not being human. Shame. Shameful. Very problematic.
eventually arrive there. So this is the goal of the game, to find more lasers to shoot at this mountain. I think it's conveyed fairly well, however, something far more important happens here. There's a line puzzle that doesn't do anything. It's a curvy line that you can draw over and over. It does nothing. I drew it 3 times and then stepped forward to see what it was all about. I saw the river below that looked like the puzzle, so I clicked on it. This happened and I yelled, "Holy shit!" There are more puzzles like this in the game, and I've gone through this sequence of events carefully in order not to ruin any more than I had to, because I think there might be at least a few people who kept watching who thought the game only had panel puzzles. If this sort of thing has made you interested in the game now, this is your last chance to stop the video to avoid even more spoilers.
You listening? You've been warned.
Like so many other games lately, I've seen The Witness compared to Dark Souls in regards to teaching you things. But even Dark Souls will put messages and NPCs down to guide you with information. You can also stumble or brute force your way through a lot of encounters in the early and mid game and learn lessons later while still progressing. Whereas if you hit a wall in the witness, the game crosses its arms and goes, nope, nuh-uh, and won't let you progress through this area until you give it the exact answer that it wants. The more apt comparison, funnily enough, is the game's difficulty. It fosters that same elitist attitude that I hate about Dark Souls, even though I love the game specifically for that difficulty. It's always so easy to point to the "you're just bad" excuse, or the stance that "I got through it, so anyone who else doesn't sucks," which is meant to somehow elevate the game above criticism. I don't know how they think that. Not many Dark Souls or Witness fans do this, but it does happen. I've seen some very legitimate criticism of the games be dismissed because of it. If we go back to that orchard near the starting area, you can see that the game is trying to teach you to look at the environment for hints. The branches here sort of mimic the tree that's in view, and the only other information you have to work with is that one branch has an apple. So the correct goal is to match the apple on the drawing. I figured this out immediately, but I had already gone to the mountain and seen the river line. If we go to Super Bunny Hop's review, you can see him struggling with it. And he's not a stupid guy. He's simply being conditioned by the game to focus on the panels and solve it there, and not to look for anything in the environment yet. People have criticized him for this in the comments on his video, not a lot, but it's there. Some people love the game for this sort of thing, when you're taught to look at something in a certain way, to see it from a different perspective. The click moment, or the aha moment. And I am one of those people. That's what I loved about this game. I often felt challenged, and when that challenge was fair, I was very satisfied that I solved something that had me stumped. Even with finding lines to draw in parts of the island around you, the vast majority of this game is still focused on panel puzzles. These can be boiled down to two very simple ways that each one of them challenges you. First, to identify and understand the rule, or the code depending on what you want to call it. Secondly, to apply that rule or code, and find the correct path through the maze that adheres to it. That's it. That's 90% of the game in the Witness. And when it does a good enough job in introducing new rules and teaching them to you, you'll spend most of your time trying to work out the solution. And this is almost always fine. You know the rules, you just need to work through applying them. It's when the game fails to communicate with you or introduces a new idea without any prior information that it becomes monumentally frustrating. You're left staring at something that may as well have been created by aliens for how incomprehensible it is, or at worst, when the game's introduction doesn't work as well as it should, or leaps forward with the concept and expects you to make a similar leap without preparation. I didn't get stuck very often. I think this is more due to luck than any amount of intelligence or...
Yeah, that kind of shit is just, like, really hard to design around. It's the kind of thing where I feel like the only thing that you can really do to help yourself there on the, like, design end is to just have a lot of testing done by, like, outside people to just see what they stumble into. But it's because I know I've seen, like, just some videos where it's, like, developer commentary stuff, or I've seen some things from, like, some, like, Valve developer commentaries where just there are things they changed about, like, certain levels or, like, the design or layout of things because they were seeing playtesters get confused or stuck in a way that wasn't, like, intended or meant to, you know, be part of the challenge. And, you know, it's a real tricky thing because it's basically just, especially with this kind of, you know, with it's a big goal that the Witness is going for with its design, and so yeah, I can respect the chutzpah to be like, yeah, we're gonna just actually literally have, like, no text and no directions. It's just that, you know, when you do that, you also run into all sorts of walls of there are reasons why games will just sometimes have text and directions in them. Sometimes that's just the best way to explain shit. You know, it makes me think, like, with, like, a lot of pinball tables. If you ever, you know, just play pinball at an arcade or a bar or something, a lot of pinball tables, there will be a little like placard piece of paper thing, like, near the bottom corner that usually has some explanation of how the, like, scoring system or how the different, like, bonuses or the, you know, progression on the pinball board, just how that actually works. Just, you know, it'll have something explaining it, because you can just play on a pinball table, and if you just play it enough, I mean, you'll start to just figure out how the different pieces go together. But they, you know, recognize that, like, hey, it's a fucking pinball table. Might not be a bad idea to just have, like, some piece of text that, like, tells you what, like, oh, if you get up that left loop, it'll start this thing, and then if you hit the thing 3 times after starting it, you'll activate the multi-ball. Like, cool, now you know.
Or perception on my part. In the desert area, I noticed very quickly that the sun will erase lines on the panels if viewed from a certain angle, changing your perspective. And I can vividly imagine the frustration someone who doesn't notice this might go through, and how it could turn into repulsion when they finally do figure it out. How the fuck was I meant to know that? They'll probably cry, but because I did notice it, this ended up being one of my favorite areas in the game, which is one of many reasons why I'm so conflicted when it comes to judging it. For a place that I did hit a wall, we have to go to the quarry after the desert. One of the entrances into this area is a set of 2 doors. The second one has 2 L shapes, and that's it. That's all the information it's telling you. This was the first time I had seen these types of blocks. And it looks really simple, right? It looks so simple. And it's a door that serves as an entrance to an area, so it must be one of the introductory puzzles, right? I'm not exaggerating when I say I was here for over an hour, and my thought process was this. So I'm obviously meant to draw those shapes. I try and fail. I wonder if the square that contains the symbol has to be inside the shape or if it's just a guide. I noticed that the one in the bottom right has a shape that's impossible to draw while having that square inside of it, so I figured that I don't have to have that block inside the shape. So I spend over an hour trying to find some way to squeeze both individual shapes on the grid, failing each time because the line I draw for the first one always gets in my way when it comes to the second one. I learned that when you need to draw shapes, you always need to use the edge of the puzzle grid in order to close it off, and I keep trying, and then I begin to berate myself because this is obviously a tutorial puzzle. It's the entrance door to a whole area. This is trying to teach me something basic, and the answer is that you can draw both shapes as one combined shape like this. Am I an idiot for not working that out sooner? You'll have to be the one to decide that. But when I solved this, there wasn't any sense of aha, it was they could have made that a little more fucking clear. Of course, these shapes are introduced better in another area, but I think I've already made my point in how misleading this door can be. To show it in another way, there's another puzzle in the quarry that had me similarly stumped. It involves colored stars, and after trying it a handful of times, I recognized that it was too advanced for me to be expected to solve it, and surmised that it must be taught in another area. Sure enough it was, and this puzzle was easy after that. These kinds of puzzles that are placed at a sync are both good and bad. To go back to Dark Souls for a second, they're the equivalent of the Black Knight in Undeadburg. Are you meant to fight them now? Probably not, but you still can, and if you succeed, awesome. Same for here. So I like them for that, but I think there could have been better ways to make it clear that you haven't finished the introduction to this type of puzzle just yet, especially when they can masquerade as simple challenges.
Because I'll just, add my own thought quickly. That, and the thing with, the Black Knight on Undeadburg, the thing with him, I would just say, it's like the comparison here, is that there's more obvious signaling that, that he's optional, because he's off the beaten path. You can see there's you can, around the area where you get to him, there's clearly you could go forward and go up a staircase into this big building, and that's the way you get to the boss. Or you can take another turn and go downstairs, and then there's basically just this kind of long alleyway, and the Black Knight's farther down it, and he's the only enemy there. And then there's an item sitting on the ground past him, and you can see that item. So, there's partly, just because it's a different kind of a game, and it has some more, it's the design of the game. I mean, potentially, just Dark Souls, it being a more different kind of, just 3D exploratory action game, it's got a few more I think design buttons it's able to push, where just the Black Knight, he's in the Undeadburg, so just, if you don't know, but if you see all the other enemies in the Undeadburg are just these hollowed out kind of zombie dudes that have crappy armor, they look like basic soldiers, they look like their equipment's kind of partly rusted away and worn down. They look shoddy. They're a very motley, shoddy bunch. And then you see the Black Knight, and he's fucking 8 feet tall, and he's clad head to toe in beautiful, emblazoned, full black, full plate armor. So he looks so much tougher than anyone else in the area. And he's off the side of the main progression path, and there's an item sitting past him, and you can see that it's just a dead end, it's just a cliff drop, so you can see that the only thing he's guarding is whatever item is there. And I think it's a ring, and it's it's a good ring, but it's very not essential. And then there's just the fact that if you do try to fight him, you can get good and you can totally beat him. You can totally beat him your first time through. He's just, he's not a boss or anything. He's just tougher than the average enemy there. But it's a thing where, with the puzzles, it's like it's basically anything but success looks like failure. Whereas with something like Dark Souls, with the Knight, you can see that, if you attack him, see how much damage you do. You get a sense where just okay, maybe you took off a tenth of his health bar. So you can see that okay, he's got more health and he's more durable than the other enemies here, who maybe you're killing in 2, 3, 4 attacks. But it also gives you a signal of okay, but I took off a tenth of his health bar, so I can at least see I need to hit him 10 more times to beat him. Because sometimes in a game, like Dark Souls or the other FromSoft games, you'll have a thing like that where you'll hit an enemy and you'll take off a 50th of their health bar, and then you probably go fuck, this isn't going to work very well, and then you run away or something. So, it's the tricky thing with the Witness, where it's not just, we're not going to have any sort of text or dialogue or just info tutorial pop-up boxes, but it's also that really our only gameplay mechanic is we've got the panel puzzles, and then we've got being able to click and draw lines on stuff in the environment, and that's all we have. In Dark Souls 1, even if you're a dumbass, you'll figure, you'll either beat the Black Knight, or you'll figure out that he's strong because he'll fucking kick your ass. Because he's a knight, and he's in fully decked out armor, and he's got a big sword to swing around at you. And if you do beat him, you get oh, he was worth a lot more souls. Oh, there was this ring he was protecting, and oh, it's early in the game. I don't even really have any rings. Cool, neat. And then, at some later point, you'll see, another Black Knight who's also a bit off the beaten path and is guarding something. And you can think, did I beat the last one? Did I run from that last guy? Should I try my luck with this one? Should I just, keep these guys in mind and come back later? Just, fuck it. Period. End. It's, I don't know. React content. It's a live stream. No editing. The Joseph Anderson video. Much editing. Great editing. It's like he wrote a script and then did drafts on it, and it's good. But, just things I get, there's kind of shit, things I get from the video. I appreciate the Dark Souls comparison. There are, it's, he acknowledges, 7 years ago especially, comparing it to Dark Souls, what a meme. But also, Dark Souls is a pretty, there's a lot of, very intentional and well thought out design in the Dark Souls game. All the Dark Souls games. Oh. Hey, baby.
Yeah.
Can you take the cat?
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll do it a bunch tomorrow. Thank you. Oh, you're helping me bust on billionaires. Oh.
Buddy.
Yep, that's the cat. But yeah, back to Joe here.
Worse than all of this, however, and perhaps the worst thing in the entire game period, are the rare few puzzles that are so obscure that, to me, they don't even make sense after you solve them. One is in a side area connected to the quarry. You have to use shadows as either an area to avoid or as a guide to follow in order to draw the correct path. It's introduced well, and you can blaze through them quite quickly after that. Then I came to this one, and after over another hour of trying, I gave up. This is one of 3 times while playing the game that I had to resort to using a guide, and even after seeing the answer, I still don't understand the rule here. The shadows are broken. You can't stay in them the whole time. You can't stay out of them the whole time either. You can't stay to just one branch. I still have no idea what you're meant to be looking at here, and it doesn't build on any of the past lessons that this area taught you. The other times I have to resort to a guide were the red door in the sunken ship and the final section in the...
Let's briefly say, too, I know it's old adventure games, the old classic point-and-click adventure games often are criticized for that kind of problem. And I only have so much direct experience playing those myself, of course. They're a bit behind my time, and they're not quite my style. But I've read about them, and I have seen some videos of other people playing them. Game Grumps has some very fun, enjoyable videos of them playing like the King's Quest and Space Quest games by Sierra. And it was a noted thing with that genre that there would oftentimes be puzzles where if you look up what the solution is and like what items you're supposed to like combine or use together to get an effect, it wouldn't really make that much fucking sense, and adventure game logic was like the thing. And yeah, it's like, how were you meant to figure that out when even when you know the answer, it still seems like really stupid and contrived? And it's the thing with those games were just old design. They kind of needed to fill time to some extent. So some of those old adventure games, to some extent, they just expected you to just brute force. They just expected you to just try shit and write down what it did or didn't do. And just literally, like, just trial and error your way through some stuff. And yeah, it's probably not the funnest way to go about solving puzzles, where you have to just brute force them because they legitimately don't really adhere to any sort of logic. So I can totally feel for what Joe's saying here with that, like, branch puzzle of, like, he looked up the answer, and he can do that answer, and he still doesn't know why that's the answer. It's like looking up the answer to a question in the back of a math textbook, and then still not being able to understand how, like, that equation gets you to that result, even though you can see what the result is.
The speaker jungle. Let's go there first to highlight a problem that I may have luckily avoided in some areas. The most treacherous thing about the design of this game, specifically never giving any information and instead letting easy puzzles do it for you, is that sometimes it assumes that players are going to think of things in the same way that the developer is. Or in this case, perceive them in the same way. I think this is slightly easier to do with sight, since you can make sure shapes and colors are really distinct. In the jungle, the puzzles involve sound. This whole area is like the shadow puzzle I just showed. Even knowing the solutions, I have absolutely no fucking idea what I'm meant to be doing here. I understand that you have to differentiate the sounds and match them to shapes on the panels, but I genuinely do not understand what the game wants. Is it volume, pitch, tone? Does going up match a rise or lower in each? Do the shapes that come later match a small sharp sound, or are those sharp sounds associated with a bigger symbol since they have the most impact? And this is all before I say that I can't even tell some of these sounds apart. The bird chirps fast, and when I hear the sounds back to back, I can tell they're the same. But when you break the chain and then go back to a third sound, that kind of seems like it's the first sound again, but it turns out it isn't. Maybe? I have no idea. I brute forced my way through all of the early puzzles here. By that I mean I whipped out pen and paper, and I wrote down all the different sequences that I could enter into the panels, and I did them all in order and crossed them off when they didn't work, until I finally eliminated all the wrong answers and got the right solution. When I got to the more complicated one at the end, I said fuck it and looked up the answer. I still don't understand it. The only other time I resorted to a guide was the red door puzzle.
I feel for Joe there. That sounds just absolutely fucking miserable. And then, it's a thing too. Not gonna like shit all over the game for this, but from an accessibility standpoint, that's also like, just what if for whatever reason, whether a person's deaf or just whatever, what if they don't, or what if they can't have the sound on? Right, because that's just an issue of then it's like, and I mean, sound's an important part of a game. Sometimes there's only so much you can do around to like accommodate around there that you want to do around that. I remember like some of the older Mario Parties, the Mario Party games, where there would be mini games where you're supposed to like wait for your controller to rumble, and like as soon as your controller rumbled, like then you would hit the button, or like if your controller rumbled, like that was the bucket you were supposed to pick. And if you didn't have rumble on, or if you had a controller that didn't have rumble, it was like a thing you could set in the game that like you don't have rumble on. It would instead like show a red exclamation point above your character. And like I like that. I was usually always playing with rumble, but I just saw that and I was like, oh, that's neat. Like if you don't have rumble, you still like basically get the same kind of, instead of feeling the sudden shake in your hand, you see the like sudden exclamation appear on your character, and you can still do the like general function of the thing. But yeah, I can get where I can just imagine I'd probably be in the same situation playing these puzzles because I'm watching Joe go through it here and I'm just like, yeah, I have no idea how the fuck I would like not just correlate the, you know, because it's not just correlating these sounds to shapes, it's correlating these sounds to the shapes that the game wants you to correlate them to. Like, I'm autistic, man. I already, like, don't quite think the same way as other people, and it took me like, you know, over 20 years of my life to fucking realize that for myself. Like, this kind of shit, just, this kind of shit can be just a real fucking brick wall, and you don't know who's gonna walk through that wall like it's Harry Potter and they're at the train station, and who's just gonna bounce off that shit. You can't really predict that. It's yeah, and I'm not saying it's even inherently bad for the game. Sometimes you just, like, you know, if you're blind, it's probably going to be pretty hard to beat Dark Souls. Like, and that's just, you know, sorry. You know, if you're deaf, concerts probably aren't, like, your favorite thing to go to. Them's the breaks.
In the crash ship. I read that this is considered by many to be the hardest puzzle in the game, and I wholeheartedly disagree. Difficulty implies that there's something to logically work through, and I firmly believe that this puzzle is a joke put in by the developers. It's once again about sound, but the game doesn't tell you that. In the jungle, the sound comes out of a speaker to make sure you know it's artificial and deliberate and tied to the panels. I couldn't find a speaker.
See, again, like, with the jungle thing there, at least that's, like, as just Joe said, I mean, I'll try to keep too much of this video of me just being like, the thing Joe said, that made sense and was right. Me and my logical Audi brain. I think Joseph Anderson might be a little bit on the spectrum too. I relate to his content. I relate to the way he, like, interprets stuff enough where I'm like, I think he might be a little bit on the spectrum too, because he's going for the logical coherence thing pretty hard. I notice as a trend. Yeah, hey, but it's that good stuff to notice. I mean, you know, it's good from the design end. The fact that with those earlier sound puzzles, they like put a speaker there that you would easily like see and would be like, you know, figuring out what the sounds are supposed to correlate to in terms of shapes does seem like kind of just a bit of an inherent shit show. But at least the fact that you're supposed to be going off of the sound is, like, pretty clearly, like, indicated. You know, there's obviously a speaker here that's, like, wired to the thing. So it seems natural that, like, okay, this you know, they want me to do something with this speaker in relation to the panel. But I could get here where it's just like, yeah, just ambient ship noise. Like, fuck you. Holy shit. Ambient noise. Like, the whole point of ambient background noise. It's, like, definitionally there for mood and vibe. You know, it's like, I love Stalker, the one Stalker game I've played, where the ambient noise in that game is so thick and heavy at times. It's legitimately oppressive ambience, but I actually really like and appreciate it. Because the ambience in that game makes you just feel like legitimately like you're not safe. You just don't feel safe because you just constantly just you'll just hear dogs. You'll just hear like wild dogs barking somewhere. They might not be anywhere like near enough to you that they're going to be an actual problem, but just the fact that you'll just be walking, you'll just randomly just hear, just like, there's things out there. There's things out there, and like, they'll try to hurt me if I'm not careful. Like, Stalker is just like suffused. It's blanketed in ambient noise. That half of which is like a clear indication of threats, and then the other half is just mood to make you tense because you can't tell. That's some good shit. But Stalker never makes you solve a fucking logic-lying puzzle based off the ambient noise of zombies moaning in the foreground. background. Fuck, I'm totally. I'm showing my lack of any academic knowledge about sound design. I don't know what fucking terms to use.
During the ship. It also has an invisible line that matches your actions, but again, the game doesn't tell you that. Hopefully you remember the seaside symmetry area and the puzzles that use the vanishing lines there. So without any information, you're meant to stand here staring at this panel and realize that the groaning ship and dripping water is the key to decoding it. You're meant to work out what symbol refers to what sound, then you're somehow meant to work out when the sequence of sounds starts, so you can hit the symbols in that order, while also using the invisible line in that same sequence. How you're meant to work out the beginning of the sound sequence is beyond me, aside from trial and error. Again, maybe I'm stupid and missing something, but there wasn't a single other puzzle in the game that had me googling for a guide aside from these three. Even if I got stuck for a while, I was still able to work through them, whereas if I ever solved these, it would be through guesswork. For the rest of the puzzles, you have some that are fantastic and others that I wish there were less of. The game boasts on its store page about having so many hundreds of puzzles, and we'll get to that store page in a little bit. For now, I'll say that it's not something to brag about when they're so quick and, in the case of the Treetop Village, so highly condensed that I ended up feeling annoyed rather than challenged. It's what I meant earlier by it doesn't for the panels remaining interesting. I got through these quickly, and although it was sort of neat that the panels form bridges, I can't help but wish that they had been made bigger so that less of them were needed. The hedge maze zone is one of my favorite areas along with the desert. I also enjoyed drawing the shapes in the marsh after the game taught me their rules, although this area does suffer a little from the same high concentration of panels as the treehouse area. The standout puzzle in this location was the full-on Tetris one, which had a surprisingly easy solution that I missed for about 10 minutes before laughing to myself, happy that I finally solved it. Going back to the hedge maze, the game is at its best when the panels are linked with the environment. The more the better, really. In this location, your character is linked to the lines you have to draw. You have to find the correct path through these mazes and learn the rules of both areas, paying careful attention to each one. I really enjoyed these, same goes for drawing the line by walking on the panels. The game has one of the best and subtle moments of teaching you here with this puzzle, since it shows that you don't have to draw the line in actual order from starting circle to end curve. As long as it remains one line by the end and doesn't break another rule, you can light up the panels in broken pieces. And the game teaches you this by forcing you to step on a middle piece in order to enter this room for the first time, which is the only way you can start this puzzle. A really simple and really clear way of teaching you. It's fantastic. The last puzzles here with linking either side together, and you having a choice between what you find easier or challenging yourself to do both, were also great. It was clear what I needed to do, and it was building on my successes through this area. The temple and the bunker with stained glass weren't quite as satisfying, but were still enjoyable. They both once again use the environment to find a way for something to make a path over the panel, or to show the real colors of symbols so that you can work out how to draw the line through them. The temple nudges you to realizing this through having you look through the broken windows and shutters to open the first two doors to the other puzzles. And the bunker does something similar with having the glass block your line of sight on puzzles before you can get to them. What I liked most about this concept, however, was how it was made more difficult later on. The final area of the 11 that I haven't spoken about yet is the town in the middle of the island. This combines all the lessons you learn throughout the game and is unfortunately placed in the most accessible location, leading to what I can imagine to be some frustrating moments for many players. Some of the puzzles here are hit and miss, and not always for that reason. I think it's fair for players to eventually realize that this is meant to be the final area, but even then a handful require you to have already solved the puzzle in this area before they become solvable, which is a really mean trick. Using the glass door from solving a puzzle here to see the true colors on another next to it, or having to look at this red panel puzzle from the roof that unlocks from another puzzle, but not before they put some suspicious looking shadows nearby to trick you into thinking they're the real hint, when in reality it's a sun glare panel like in the desert. This one is pretty mean. But then this area also had one of the best moments in the entire game for me when it uses colored lights in a closed off room. You have to change the colors and... Well, I tried not to rely on pen and paper much while I played, but I think this might be one of the few cases where it's impossible not to use it. If someone out there did this by memory, then I am incredibly impressed that robots have gotten so good to pass as humans. For me, I found it very satisfying to write out a grid and make a rule about all the symbols reacting to each color. The puzzles aren't pushovers after this either, so it was a great challenge. I did some of these after finishing the game. You only need to complete 7 areas to get to the end, 7 of the 11 laser boxes that you open after doing enough puzzles in each location. This unlocks the way into the mountain and through the final sequence of puzzles. I really enjoyed this area, to the point that you might be thinking right now, well shit Joe, you said you were conflicted, but so far you sure are gushing a lot. I know, and we'll get to that, I promise. I want to be fair and show what the game does well just as much as it does badly. The puzzles begin to disintegrate in this area. By that I mean the rules that surround them begin to crumble. This could be seen as artificial difficulty by some, since panels will be covered to obscure your view, or will be moving to make it awkward. But these were straightforward.
Alright. Quick pause here. Gonna take a very quick bathroom break. We'll do a donation. Go back to Joseph Anderson. Kitty cat. Okay, let's apartment fire damage. Well, that apartment certainly looks fiery. Right, just... Oh, the cat's right here back on my desk. Eat his dinner. You want to sit? You want to sit? Here, I'm gonna get you. So, and you can just go right on my lap because I don't need you trying to bite the microphone. All right. Dude's in medical school and he had an apartment fire. So he's okay. But the apartment and his shit that was in it is not. Well, let's help a future doctor out. Hey, how's that sound? How's that sound, buddy? You know, college is stressful enough. Medical school, I'm told, is definitely on the harder side of things. And having your apartment burned down is just, you know, no one needs that. No one needs to have the apartment burned down while they're also trying to get educated so that they can help people. A doctor. Oh, he is like just out of frame. Oh, he is just... I just tilt this down a little. Yes, here you are, buddy. Here's the buddy boy. He likes to sit on my lap a lot. He loves to sit on my lap. Even since I got this office chair now and the position's a little different, he still loves to sit on my lap. Oh. Hey, since I'm just reacting to a video, we can no, just stay on my lap. Just stay on my lap. You either stay on my lap or you go on your tree.
Enough that it was a cool twist. It was the puzzles farther in that I really enjoyed. The series with the broken colors that I had to use my hands to block some of them on my monitor to see which ones flashed in the same pattern was pretty good. The road that has you solving new puzzles but with the same line was even better. And it's capped off with the dual light bridge, which is what I consider to be one of the best balanced puzzles in terms of creativity and challenge. The final rooms with the shapes on the floor and the pillars aren't as good, but they provide something new at the end that isn't a grand enough departure to corrupt concepts you've already been taught. Then you leave the angelic looking area in a pearly elevator and fly over the island for what will be the end of the game for some people. That's most of the gameplay in this game. For those who have played The Witness a lot and are wondering, I did continue playing and see the hidden ending and completed the challenge cave with the timed music gauntlet. I got this ending with the elevator in about 25 hours with 380 puzzles solved and 38 of the environmental patterns found. I played for another 25 hours after that for almost 100% completion. My thoughts from here get a little less structured. I have to talk about the game's creator and the story, as well as tying into those environmental puzzles. I know this video is long, so if you want to take a break and come back to it, now would be the time.
Oh, who's a good boy? Are you gonna watch Joseph Anderson too, buddy? Are you interested in video game critiques?
I don't think it's right for me to speak in detail about this game without discussing its creator. The Witness was developed by Thekla Incorporated, but it's Jonathan Blow that you'll hear most often attributed to the game's creation. There are two reasons that I feel obligated to bring him up. The first, less important reason is that Jonathan Blow was one of many people that got me thinking about making this YouTube channel. I've watched several of the talks he has given and been consistently impressed by what he has to say. The second, more important reason is that everyone else who speaks about the game can't seem to avoid bringing him up either, and why that's happening ties directly into how I feel about this game. The fact of the matter is that if you're interested enough in video games to be watching a video on my channel, then you've probably heard of Jonathan Blow, and that alone is significant. How many other game developers have you really heard of more than once? I'd wager that most gaming enthusiasts would struggle to name the same amount of game directors as the equivalent person could about film. These names are rarely brought up in discussion. Assuming that I'm wrong, Jonathan Blow is the guy who made Braid, a 2D puzzle platformer that came out way back in 2008. Many people claimed it was one of the most important games to be released that year, and it was the first game that really proved that indie titles could be truly worth your time. I don't necessarily agree with all that. I played Braid the same month it came out, and I remember it fondly, but not as a big event in gaming. I think I've gotten more out of Jonathan Blow's presentations than his games, and that's why I'm really hesitant to say what I'm about to say. It's why I said in the opening about how I just need to be honest. The reason I just explained everything there about Braid, its reception, and people talking about The Witness is that I can't shake the feeling that Jonathan Blow is fucking with us. I have 3 big reasons for thinking this, and I'll start with what I think is the strongest one. The Witness is a glorified tablet game that does little to justify its $40 price tag when it comes to gameplay. And I know you might be thinking, how can he say that after he just got done praising so much of it? And you're right that it's contradictory, but I still would have enjoyed the vast majority of this game just as much if the panels had been presented to me in a selection screen on a tablet interface that also cost $10. Drawing the lines would have arguably been easier with that interface too. There simply aren't enough times that the game uses its environment in ways that justify it being a big 3D adventure. Even some of the areas that do, like the desert and temple sections, could have been simulated with clever ways on a tablet. The environment isn't used enough. Nothing proves this more than when the game does start using it, toward the end when The Witness finally starts feeling like an actual video game, right before you're done and kicked out. The mountain section is fantastic, just like the mazes in the fort elsewhere on the island. But what really stands out is the secret cave section that you unlock after you activate all 11 lasers. Even here, however, you see examples of the game not living up to its own world. There are lines of puzzle panels here that don't use the environment in any way. They're just there for you to move through, camera zoomed in what might as well be a tablet game anyway. After you get through here, you arrive at a section where you're timed and have to learn to move through a series of randomized puzzles. There's a maze that I think you have to learn by looking at an earlier puzzle board, but I'm not sure. Remembering where the line picked up the symbols seemed to help me get through it. The music playing is your time limit and urges you to rush. Movement between panels is important, as is frantically remembering all the lessons that the game has taught you. This was my favorite part of the game. I felt challenged in so many different ways. I felt like I had conquered something when I beat it. And then the game was over. The Witness boasts that it has over 500 puzzles, when I'd say that barely more than 100 truly utilize the world constructed around them in an interesting way. That some of the draw a straight line panels count toward that advertised number is also insulting. And what can I say about that environment? That it's beautiful, that it ties into the rest of the game's theme on perspective, outlooks or point of views, whatever you want to call them. The island is crammed with hidden images that you can only see from certain angles, roots that become fish in the water's reflection, a person hiding in a burned hut, statues reaching for each other. I think I might have started seeing things that weren't even there toward the end.
See that? Like, that kind of stuff's cool. Like that's neat. And that's one of those things that it's like, video games can uniquely do. The whole aspect of the user directly interacting with the material and being able to like make choices or discoveries about
these trees
how
begin to
they're
look
seeing
like
things. But all right, flip the webcam up a little bit more. Cat, if you come right back here, he walks away and then immediately turns around to come back. Like, come on, man. Come on, fat. Come on. Come on, fat. Okay, now you're going to bite my hand? You're going to literally bite the hand that feeds you? Silly boy. Go sit over here. Go sit over here.
for each other. I think I might have started seeing things that weren't even there toward the end. These trees began to look like the foreign people to me from certain angles. The place is carefully structured to only reveal things if you're looking at it right, seeing the same thing you've already looked at, but seeing something completely new, just like when you finally see the solution in a puzzle. This is what The Witness is all about, but all this beauty isn't worth how much wasteful panel staring you'll be doing in the game. But what about the environmental puzzles, the circles you find in the island that you can draw shapes from, the holy shit moment that I mentioned in the first part of this video? These are hidden in the same way as all of these images, and the way that they've been placed, somehow obvious and camouflaged at the same time, is often nothing short of genius. Some people might argue that finding these patterns is the actual, real game in The Witness, and that the panels are just a distraction place to keep you busy until you finally start looking at the world around you. I don't think it's as extreme as that. I think they're both equally important. I think the message the game is trying to convey, and what passes as a story, has more to do with the environmental puzzles, but we'll get to that. The problem with that holy shit moment is that I only enjoyed finding these circles and lines as I explored the island on my own terms. It felt great to notice them and figure out how to start each one, although some of them requiring you to run so far away on the island was borderline absurd. By the time I hit 50 hours, I had solved about 515 puzzles and found 75 of these hidden circles and lines. My goal was now to hunt for them, to search specifically for them on the island. And that's when the holy shit became just shit. This was tedious because of the size of the island and how many different ways you can look at something. You need to find a circle to start it, and some of these are only ever visible when you found the whole thing. By that I mean, sometimes you can see parts of a circle and work out roughly where to explore, but there are puzzles that the only way to find them are to stumble upon them by luck or just going literally everywhere on the island and looking at everything. I did not finish this part of the game by myself. My gut reaction is that this isn't meant to be something you really do alone, and is a communal project that the game has for fans to pool solutions together to complete the 6 obelisks around the island. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but so many of these are so obscure that I don't know how one person is reasonably meant to find them all. So you have a game that went to the trouble of a gorgeous 3D world without using it in a truly engaging way. You have a main game mechanic that would be better suited for a phone or a tablet game and only teases at the possible potential it could hold at the end, just before it's over. It's possible that there's more to find in the game that continues this trend, some super secret area of more puzzle gauntlets. But after being available for 2 months, either this secret is too well hidden or people far smarter than I am decided they didn't care enough to find it. Either way is a failing on the game, if such a secret exists at all. The second reason I think that Jonathan Blow might be fucking with us isn't as strong, but in my opinion, it's worse than what I just said. It requires us to take a trip to the game's Steam page. The Witness is a single-player game in an open world with dozens of locations to explore and over 500 puzzles. The game respects you as an intelligent player and treats your time as precious.
That's a big thing to say in your Steam description. That's, big if true. Big if true.
No filler. Each of those puzzles brings its own new idea into the mix, so this is a game full of ideas. This paragraph was the spark that convinced me that something fucked up is going on with this game. There's enough said here that's demonstrably untrue, so blatantly wrong that the person who wrote it is either delusional or a liar. The game is full of filler puzzles, but the worst thing here is this part. While the game definitely does treat you as an intelligent, inquisitive person, by no metric does this game treat your time as precious. There are several key points that the opposite is true. I read this on the Steam page before I started playing, and it kept flashing in my head as I stood around waiting for platforms to move, or boats to arrive, or puzzle solutions to trigger their infuriatingly slow animations on nearby objects. Your character's movement speed is about half of what it should be, even when you're holding down a button to run around. It's made even worse by all of the invisible walls all over the place. I understand why you can't jump, since it would let you get to places that you otherwise shouldn't to break some of the environmental puzzles, but that you can't slide down most ledges or bumps or buildings is really tiring. My guess is that there was no teleport function or really fast movement speed because they wanted players to have more chances to see some of the perspective tricks the island pulls as they backtrack all over it. This isn't a good enough reason to not make things a little easier to get around though. Many of the better shortcuts around the island don't open until the very end. Nothing proves this more than some of the environmental patterns you have to find, and among them is one of the most tedious wastes of time that I have ever had to do in any game. Around the island are some of the more difficult puzzles that block your way to a pattern drawn on a piece of paper. I think you're meant to draw this yourself out of game for later. That's what I did. There are 6 of these. The final one is your reward for finishing the time challenge in the bottom of the mountain. These are codes that you enter in a theater room underground, roughly in the middle of the island. A video starts playing for each code you enter. 6 codes, 6 videos.
Well, that's no better a solution than any of the others, is it?
Now I'm going to discuss these in detail in the last section, but I want to point something specific out about some of them. There are circles hidden in these videos. Some of them are what I consider to be the most brilliant environmental patterns in the game. The ones in the James Burke video, where you use parts of circles on the screen with parts outside of it, were fantastic moments of discovery. I first noticed the circle at the end of the Candle video, which you need to run out of the theater to complete by drawing the line where the screen is broken in the back. After you've entered the code, you can skip through to any point in the video to make these easier to complete. Some of these videos are longer than others. The James Burke one is about 5 minutes. The Candle one feels just over twice as long as that. Another is a 10-minute video that are 2 clips of Richard Feynman. There's also one by Rupert Spira that goes on for over half a fucking hour. Now, I've watched videos like these before on my own time, especially interviews with Richard Feynman, but even enjoying them as I do, they have no place taking up so much time in this game, especially since Rupert Spira is obviously insane given what he says over the course of 35 odd minutes. The video that is your reward for completing the time puzzle is just shy of an hour long. It's called The Secret of Psalm 46 by Brian Moriarty. Was it interesting? Yes. Would I have preferred to watch it when I actually wanted to watch a video instead of play a game? An even bigger yes.
Yeah, It's a bold choice, Cotton. It's a bold choice. Thing is, bold is not the same word as good. Bold is not the same word as quality. It's tricky. It's tricky. Because, you know, nothing's gonna be a hit for 100% of people 100% of the time. But yeah, I mean, I can totally get Joseph Anderson's feeling here of just like, okay, I've gone through all these puzzles and like a 35-minute video of a crazy guy talking about his theories, or you know, whatever that video with the one crazy guy is. It's like, is that what was wanted? Is that, you know, is that a good dessert to like cap off this meal? You know, cap off this game? You know, it's hard to say. There's subjective aspects to it. Very, very subjective aspects to it, but yeah, there's also, sometimes things are a convention for good reason. And yeah, really long video sequences are, you know, there's a reason people complain when you can't skip cutscenes in a video game. If you've played video games for long enough, you've been there. You've been there with you'll never fucking save Prince Oars. I've been there. Oh god, I've been there on some fucking games where it's like, all right, it's been 5 minutes, time to like get to the part where I might actually like win or lose.
Can't really justify turning it off and walking away either, since it was clearly important enough to the developers to include it in the game. But that's not the real time waste here. There's a pattern puzzle hidden in this video. You need to run around the back and use the moon on the screen as your starting position to get it going. Then you draw a line from white to where it mingles with black on the ceiling, and then complete it with the moon once again when it reaches the far side of the screen. 56 or so minutes later. You cannot fast forward this. You can't skip ahead like the other puzzles. You need to start the pattern at the beginning of the video, and you need to stand there with the line active waiting for the end. My screensaver tripped on 3 times while I was doing this. You have my sympathies if you watched the video once all the way through before realizing this was in the game and then had to watch it again. I cannot resolve the conflict of many things in this game with things said on the store page or by Jonathan Blow outside.
Yeah, it's just, for me, it's always, you know, time's the one thing you don't ever get back, and just something like this where there is a like genuine kind of like time cost. You know, I just, not that that's inherently bad or can't be very appropriate. I mean, plenty of games use like time loss as a punishment, you know, having to run back to your dead body in like an MMO and all. But it's just, I think it's worth always, from the designer end at least, I think it's worth just thinking that a time cost, you know, I view it as just you're asking for people's like life. You're asking for people to give just legitimately a precious resource from their life to get through that time gate, because you don't ever get back time. You're only going, you're always going forward through time. The half hour, the hour spent holding the mouse there to get through this puzzle is time on this earth that anyone who did it, like, just, yeah, that was the cost. That was the toll to get through. And that's where I think it's like, it's really worth being mindful of, like, it reminds me, I think it's like Steve Jobs is kind of like a weird asshole, so I'm not like a big Steve Jobs fanboy, but I do know there was something like he was saying to his employees, his team, like back in the early Apple days. They were making one of like the early Apple computers. I forget if it was like the Apple 1 or the Apple 2 or something. But You know, they were doing a lot of crunch. They were just working around the clock. But it was like he said to like one of his developers, his engineers, where it was about like the startup time of the machine. It was about like it took it like 45 seconds to start up and like get to the like login screen or something. And you know, he said that like, hey, if we can shave like 10 seconds off that startup time, if we can like optimize this and recode it to, you know, get it to be 10 seconds faster, then, you know, across, you know, thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of future users who are going to potentially be turning this machine on dozens, hundreds, thousands of times, like, you know, that 10 seconds we shave off on the boot time can, you know, be correlated to like actual like years of human life that would be spent. That's one of the things that like annoys, that like I really don't like about like the like kind of the wastefulness that's inherent in our capitalist system, where it's just I think there's this like real loss where people, you know, potentially dozens of people spend like 2 years of their life like pouring their soul into some startup that fails, and there's just like not really much of anything to show for it at the end, and it's just like all that time, like, you know, the time in your life is its potential and possibility. You know, all that time spent on a failed startup, it's like, you know, it could have been spent picking up trash from the sidewalk, and at least at the end of that you would have cleaner sidewalks. So that's kind of stuff that concerns me, or that, you know, I think is kind of like a root core like problem of our current general way about doing things in the world. That just there's a lot of human time and effort and energy and work put into things that are either not very valuable, or if anything are like counterproductive. I sometimes think about just like the people at an insurance company who deny claims. Like, you know, how long could one of them go just approving every claim? Just if it's your job to like review the claims and either approve or deny, you know, however exactly that job task breaks down, it's just like, you know, how much time could you save, not just for yourself, but also for all the, you know, legit people who have to deal with getting their, you know, fucking claims, going through bullshit with their insurance claims. It's just like, would it not be worth it for someone to just say, fuck me actually keeping this job, I'm just gonna do the Sugihara thing, and I'm just gonna approve every insurance claim I get until I get fired, and just like, you know, how many human lives would that actually like benefit for someone to do that, to just approve all those claims, just every claim, just approve it, just approved. What are they? It's fine, they're good. You know, and it just makes me think where it's like, yeah, and what would be the negative end result of that? That the health insurance company's like revenue is negatively impacted by 0.03% for the quarter. Like, okay, deal. Would. I'll take that. Would. Like, it's kind of like a Bo Burnham at the end of his not the Insight special, but the one before that, where he makes a point about just your attention being precious, and that, and I could you know, I could see that special. I've seen that special a few times because it's really, really good and funny and entertaining, and the songs are great. That just like, I could get from him that it's like, yeah, this is like a really tight, scripted, crafted, clearly so high effort, like 1 hour thing. You know, he's, you know, Bo Burnham with that special is asking for 1 hour of your time, and he's putting on a whole fucking grand production for that hour. You know, it's like the ending thing of like, you know, thank you, I hope you're happy. Like, And, then contrast that to here where it's like Jonathan Blow giving you a fucking hour-long video to watch at the end of the puzzle video game, where it's just like, comparison. Bo Burnham put 1,000,000 times more effort into his hour than Jonathan Blow put into that particular hour. Not discounting effort put into the actual puzzle creation and stuff, but if there's just an hour-long video that's in the game, like, hey, that might be, an interesting, relevant. It's like Joe said, but maybe I would have wanted to watch that video, like, not in the middle of the game while I'm also doing a fucking line puzzle with my mouse. Like, yeah. So, hey, in the interest of being respectful of time, I'll get back to the video here.
Side of it. I can't resolve it with the prior work that was done in Braid either. This part is so outrageous that I can't even think of this without seeing proof that he's fucking with us, or can't keep his own facts straight when he considers not wasting a player's time as a core component of game design. So finally, why would he do that? Why would he fuck with us? The clearest reason I can think of is that he's like a hugely popular band that's sick to death of playing the song that made them. Their breakout hit that fans scream for, that they play by the numbers each night, dying a little as they do. Braid was such a hit and is heralded as so important by so many critics and reviewers that he could justify a permanent name change to Jonathan Blown. I could see the appeal of making a game and then adding so many things to it just to see what I could get away with. What are people going to call me on? Are people even paying attention, or are they just going to like whatever I do now because it's me who does it? Some authors have done similar things in the past with pseudonyms. It's the only thing I can think of that can make all of these awkward pieces fit together. Parts of this game are genius, and I love just enough of it that I don't consider myself cheated, but it's close, and I can't speak for everyone, but something is rotten in this game, and I hope that I've put my finger on what it is with this video, because I have no desire to ever play The Witness again. I have one more section to go through, a final look at perspective and story. Like last time, if you want to take a break from watching this, now's the time. There's no circle burning above your head that you have to babysit for this video.
But why male models?
Some people have criticized the game for its lack of a story. I don't think that's fair, but the issue is surprisingly complicated. First off, are they even right? Does The Witness have a story? The answer is clearly no, it doesn't. But it does have an answer to what's happening on the island, so in a sense there's something close to a narrative to discover. What's going on? Through playing the game to its real ending, you get the answer to that question. Some people have further criticized the game for having no reward structure. Usually this is tied to the same problem people have with the story. Many said they felt like they were solving puzzles for no real reason, whereas in another game they'd usually be given some tidbits of story or character building or whatever you'd prefer. I also don't think this is fair. Some games use rewards to keep you playing, but not every game has to. If you need something like that to keep you playing, then I think that's a sign of the core gameplay failing to engage you. Your reward in these types of games is simply more gameplay, with more challenge and fresh twists. I think The Witness mostly delivers on this front. Although I heavily criticized it in the last section for not using its world, I also said that I would have still enjoyed the puzzles on a tablet. They were still good, just not worth a 10 out of 10 perfect score or anything. The two sides to the narrative in The Witness are the different perspectives that you experience while playing it, and that the game is about a game. It's a meta story that has a fictional dev team that has made the island and the puzzles and the like, and that you are one of those developers who is playtesting it. Whether or not you are doing so safely or with the rest of the team knowing is questionable, but I don't really care enough to find out. That's the answer to the island. That's why there are puzzles. You have no memory because you have a rebirth of sorts when you enter the program. There are some hints that the whole thing is meant to be able to teach you something. We'll get to that in a few minutes. Let's pause for a second and talk about stories. I want to pull them all together and make 4 different categories and make a very simplified chart that every story ever written can be put into. So on one side we have the story that's being told. Is it a simple story or is it a complex story? That's all we want to know. We don't care what it's about or the characters or anything else other than, is it a simple narrative or a complicated one? Next up we have the same 2 qualities but on a different part. Is this story told in a simple way or a complex way? Does it have a straightforward, reliable narrator who doesn't mess around much with overly flowery language or go off on tangents and the like? Is it clearly told, or is it filled with lots of different information and complex paragraphs that are difficult to read with lots of wordplay, stuff like that? We're not interested in whether or not this is well done. We don't care for now. We just want to determine how the story is told. So with these categories, we can form 4 distinct types of stories. A simple story that is told in a simple way, a complex story that is told in a simple way, a complex story that is told in a complex way, and a simple story that is told in a complex way. 3 of these categories, in my mind, can work in wonderful ways. The best of them all is probably a complex story told in a simple way. Almost anyone can read it, and they can discover new things each time. That complexity is something that they can discover for themselves over multiple readings or viewings if it's a movie. A double helping of simple can be a relaxing experience, or one aimed at children, which isn't an insult by any means. People love simple, entertaining stories. Complex stories told in a complex way are difficult to get right, since the complexity in both parts needs to be worth it. These can be train wrecks or masterpieces. They can often be studied. There's a lot to enjoy here when it's done well. Finally, we can draw one of the witness's puzzle shapes to quarantine off a simple story told in a complex way. I'm not so arrogant to say that this can never work. I'm sure that it can in many ways, but this is the category that The Witness and many other pretentious stories like it falls into, and it's something that bothers me so much.
I think the word pretentious there for simple story complexly told, I think, pretentious is a word that, shit's subjective. People will call stuff pretentious, and other people will think it's not pretentious, and you have conversations about that. I think kind of the general, if I'm just like kind of off the top of my head defining the kind of critical element with pretentiousness is usually some aspect of the thing, whatever the work is, it thinks that it is more than it is. It is overly impressed with itself, or just it thinks it's more special and worthwhile than it is. So I could see how that would apply to the simple story complexly told. I'm fucking webcam, my hands are over here, not making any visual sense to anybody. But it's like, I could see where, it's a simple story, but you're telling it in this complex way, and if that complex way isn't, really adding, then it's kind of just this obfuscation that's hard to get through. It's like off the top of my head, I can think of like some characters in stories where they were villainous characters, and I thought they were good villains in this aspect, where the villain's motivation was actually very simple, but it was a bit of a complex process to like get to that motivation, or just like even though their plan was very simple, or like even though their motive was very simple, the actual like effect of their actions and the effect they were having on like the world or the setting or the like situation and the characters, had complexity to it. And that kind of I'm thinking, just specifically the example I'm thinking of is in a like One Piece, that famous Japanese manga. I'll do the slight digression here. This will be fun. This will be fun for a minute. Take a slight digression. So basically, there's an arc in One Piece where our crew, our pirate crew, the Straw Hats, it's after they've had a time skip. Everyone's gotten a lot stronger. They've regrouped, and they go underground, or they go deep down in the ocean to Fishman Island, to the town, the homeland of the Fishmen people, who are all a mix of, they're like their own kind of species, but they're all like human fish, like hybrid people. So like there are mermaids and mermen, but there are just like shark men and fishmen and just eel men and octopus men, and it's fun. It's a very One Piece has just a lot of creativity. One Piece is just like dripping, just fucking like oozing, just like creativity in the design. So just the fact that like, hey, it's this huge variety of like hybrid people having different limbs and weird faces and different, just like functions or features to their body. Like, I like, when they're in dry areas that are, like, contained in a bubble, all the, like, mermaid people have, like, floating bubbles that they ride around on because they've got fishtails, so they can't really, like, walk, so they ride around on the bubbles when they're in area, like, dry dock places. And, our villain there, our main villain there is this guy, Hody, who... I'll just say briefly, quickly, I guess his goal is kind of just he's like a fishman supremacist. There's a lot of bigotry under the I mean, it just there's a history of bigotry and racism and literal enslavement towards the fishmen from the humans, and the fishmen have only kind of like semi-recently gotten out from under that. But, there's a lot of like pain and old scars from that. And Hody's thing is that he's basically just on he just kind of like is starting a coup and wants to take over Fishman Island and wants to just do a kind of like genocidal conquest of the world. Just, fishmen are stronger, fishmen can breathe underwater, fishmen should be ruling, we shouldn't be in fear of the humans, we should dominate them, yada yada. And I just remember this one, it might actually be from here. But I just remember this one really interesting point where it just finally got down to it, I think, where after, our main guy Luffy had just been, like, beating the shit out of the guy for a while. At some point, I think it's another character. I think it's another one of the Fishman people, like one of their princes who's part of the fight. If I'm remembering right, he asked Hody, like, what did the humans do to you? What specifically did humans do to you that's got you willing to kill potentially thousands of other fishmen so that you can wage this war against humans? And Hody's answer is nothing. Humans never did anything to him. Humans have done other things, humans have done horrible things to fishmen, and he knows about those things. He was brought up in a culture that was very aware of those things. But just when it flatly comes down to it, Hody's never interacted with humans. He's never humans haven't done anything to him. His parents weren't killed by humans. He was never enslaved by humans. The Straw Hats are a crew of mostly humans, and like they're having a pretty good time in Fishman Island. They're pretty cool. Hody's just a fucking he's a complicated he's a villain whose actions in terms of his effect on the plot has as much complexity as like any other One Piece villain. But I kind of like that in a way that that in the end, like, the fact that he was, like, so psychotically violent and was willing to potentially just destroy all of Fishman Island and, kill literally tens of thousands of his own people in order to, like, pull his coup off and, like, have total control, is that ultimately it's like, yeah, what motivation could there be for that? And it's just like, there isn't really a rational one. Humans haven't done anything to him. He doesn't actually have any sort of, like, personal grievance against humans. He's just a fucking asshole. And I like that. I thought that was actually interesting, just because there's a lot of villains and, bad guys who get beat up in One Piece, and I feel like Hody was kind of the first one where just, like, his motivation was just some actual, like, kind of just, like, pure, violent, like, psychopathy. Like, Doflamingo is, like, Doflamingo actually, Doflamingo is also a very selfish guy, but he's got, like, he really cares about, like, his crew, and Doflamingo's life is actually really fucked up and oscillated between extremes of being on top of the world and literally being tied to a cross as a child and having rocks, like, thrown at him by an angry mob. Like, so at least where Doflamingo's, like, kind of crazy and, like, a bit of a narcissist, at least it's, like, you can see how Doflamingo is, like, someone who, like, desperately needs therapy. And is also just, like, you can see where at least Doflamingo's, like, a product of the fucked up inequalities of his world. But I like that, where it's like, Doflamingo's motivation is, he wants to get it back. He wants to get back on top and claim what is his and get back to where he was before his family walked away from their wealth and fucked them over to be, pariahs. So that's an understandable motivation, even if it's, like, pretty selfish and self-centered. It's at least, like, you can see in his character how he has legitimately been really, really brutalized by the world, and that's where his, like, really brutal attitude back to the world comes from. Because even after his family, like, fell from the top and didn't have anything, people still, showered all the resentment they had for those pricks on top. They turned it all towards, him and his family, who couldn't, defend themselves from it. But then Hodie's thing is just, it's like, Hodie could have just sat on his ass. Hodie didn't have to do any of this. Hodie literally didn't have to do any of the shit he did. He could have just been a guy.
What did humans do to you that was so unforgivable? Why? What in this world could inspire such cruelty?
This is the air tank. We've met before, remember?
Oh, yeah, hey guys.
We've been listening to what's happening out there. And we can see the Noah hurtling toward the island. We've begun making the preparations as we've discussed.
Don't make it more complicated. Just go for it, okay?
And Luffy, everyone here is counting on you.
Can you hear me, Straw Hat? Please listen. He spoke earlier and it's clear now. Horty is...
Shocking fact! The true identity of Horty!
Earlier that day, before the Noah began its descent on the...
Alright, that clip, cut around a little bit, but... But, yeah, it's basically just, Hodie there, we're just... He doesn't have a reason. he just... His reason is he doesn't have one. He can't give one when asked. And that's pretty... Yeah, I mean, shit, man. Just shit. But alright, enough about One Piece. Back to The Witness.
The problem with many incredible books can come from how they're often difficult to read and fully understand, from Finnegan's Wake to something like Catch-22, which some people can understandably struggle with. That's also my favorite book, by the way. This idea of complexity equals worth can be infectious. The idea takes root that in order for something to be worth your time, that it has to be difficult to understand in some way. These people are missing the point. The complexity needs to be worth it for something in the book, not for the sake of complexity itself. So you have so many stories that are intentionally obtuse. They don't like giving you information. They might even say that the mystery and wonder of knowing will always be more enjoyable than really finding out, which I think is bullshit since there's already enough to wonder at in the world, although again, I am certain that some exceptional stories could pull it off. But the worst part of all of this is how it can lead to experiences that are impenetrable in two ways: comprehension and criticism. They're light on details and might even contradict themselves in order to appear deep. the result being something close to trying to hold on to a fish with epilepsy. You can't even begin to grasp it, which is when you're left with forming your own opinion, your own interpretation, because what could be more powerful than that? You get all this information and get to decide what it all means to yourself, to you, and you create this whole narrative that you like, because of course you're going to like it. You made it. So any nagging plot holes can be dismissed.
It's that thing that annoys me with, like, bad modern movies, like Star Wars Episode 8, where it's like, in order for the movie to be good, you end up seeing a thing where just people who like the movie, they end up liking the things that they in their head wrote for the plot. Like, what's actually on screen there isn't really that cohesive, but, you know, in their head, they made some connections, and they like what they ended up with, and that feels like something, and so they're attached to that. And, you know, not going to take that away from people. I mean, that's just a very natural human thing to do. But it's something I've just seen back in, like, my EFAP watching days. Where it was just, like, The Last Jedi, I think, was, like, kind of a good example of this. Where, if you analyze the themes of that movie, it's just fucking inconsistent and not really... It's... What are the fucking themes of that movie? Like... You know, contract something like Game of Thrones. Like, Game of Thrones has themes, and ignoring, like, the last 2 seasons of the show, like, I don't know, just imagine just talking about the books, but, like, you know, hey, the question of, like, power, and, like, what power is, and how people obtain and then use power, and to what ends, like, you know, Game of Thrones is fucking seeped with that theme. It's called Game of Thrones. It's about... It's not even about, but it's just kind of like the spine of the story is this power struggle amongst nobility in a medieval fantasy kingdom, and like how a power vacuum from how an empire falling apart creates these power vacuums, and then the more regional lords all are jockeying and allying and warring with each other, and it's just a complete fucking shit show for the common people who are just getting ground into the mud in the middle of it. It's like, Game of Thrones is in that complex story, complexly told camp. But it's just, there's something actually there. You don't have to, like, fill in the blanks yourself to get to, like, I think it's trying to say something about power. Because it's just like, no, it's like characters in the story realize that, like, not like some, like, blatant thing, but it's just, characters in Game of Thrones are aware that, like, to some extent, to varying extents, just characters are aware that, like, there's a power struggle going on, and it is tearing this fucking land apart. They've got all their different biases about who should be ruling. I like the character Stannis as part of that, where it's like Stannis' thing is that he's dead King Robert's older brother, so he thinks that by rights he should sit on the throne, and he's fighting very hard to make that happen. But there's a problem in that Stannis isn't particularly charismatic, and not that many people like him, so he just doesn't have a lot of allies. And it's like, he could have just allied with his younger brother, who was really popular, and he probably could have succeeded in getting his younger brother on the throne, but he's just got such his own, like, fucking rigid viewpoint on, like, the rules say that I, as the eldest, should sit, that he ends up killing his own younger brother over it. And then we see later that he questions to himself that, like, he feels like a piece of shit because he killed his own brother. He used to have 2 younger brothers, now he has none. He's a kinslayer. And what, to be king? His rightful place, right? It's like, he has conflicts about how fucking rigid and, like, hard-line determined he is to get on the throne. He has fucking conflicts about it that are presented in the story. That's good shit. That's good shit.
the while you're building a positive association with the piece of art that's making you do this. It's like forming a twisted relationship in a way. You're feeling so smart, a part of creating it. And if you like that sort of thing, then alright. I really don't. If I want to use my imagination to create a story, then I'll go do that on my own. When I experience a story, I want an actual story with answers and meaning and all the ramifications of those things. The Witness does exactly this. It's a simple story about a man doing a beta test of a video game, and it's told with no information that even so much hints to that until you've already gotten the first ending. The island resets, you're flown through it, the puzzles turn off, you go back to the start, the door closes, and the game shuts down as abruptly as it turned on. You're back on your desktop. It's a cycle that has closed itself. Then you start again, but now you're armed with the knowledge of your first playthrough. You see something in the starting area that you missed your first time, an environmental pattern. You go through it and walk by some twisted scenery. You get to the end of your video game dream and wake up. A video plays of a guy in the office that made the game. He walks around, and that's the end. This is pretty blatant, unless the game is lying to you here, which, after the store page stuff, it might be. What does it all mean? Well, you have to think about it and come to your own conclusions, and if anyone wants to criticize it or gets it wrong, then you have that wonderful phrase, "you just didn't get it," which makes zero sense since there's nothing concrete here to actually get aside from the meta dev team stuff. The game is about perspectives. It's taken one of the defining features of postmodernism literally. It's about perspectives, and I don't mean multiple characters or viewpoints on some worthwhile story. I mean this game has a bunch of audio logs strewn around its world that are actual, literal perspectives. Quotes from famous people that view the world in a different way, which I assume are accurate because I didn't Google every single one of them. You have the outlook of someone who has studied science, then from a religious man, then someone in between. Stories that make you look at things in a different way, that make you think about situations like the one about the merchant who convinced himself his boat was seaworthy, and should still be considered guilty even though his intentions weren't malicious when it sunk due to his negligence. They're interesting, I enjoyed listening to them, but they aren't new things written for the game. They're placed to suit this theme of perspectives that is built on as you play, that is matched by how you come to view the island and all of those hidden images and the puzzles there. The concept is capped off in two ways, the first of which is the video room. These 6 videos contradict each other. James Burke states that art isn't as worthwhile as science, that art is easier to understand because it's got people in it, but that it tells you more about the person who made it more than any actual truth. Then you have Richard Feynman, who speaks about how the world can either be viewed as broken down pieces of things or the whole structures that they form. It's a fascinating, different way of looking at things that we have been for our whole lives. There's a clip from a film called Nostalgia, which I'm going to take out of context because I haven't seen it. The man is trying to carry a candle across an area without it blowing out. This seemingly pointless, arbitrary task matches much of what the player is doing in the game. Each time the candle goes out, he seems tempted to either light it again on the spot and cheat, or to give up, but continues anyway. This probably means something else in the movie, but that's the connection I can make in the context of the game. You have 2 videos which are the worst of the bunch, the one from Rupert Spira, a man so insane that he doesn't know how to tell time anymore. He's clearly pushing some sort of cult-like ideology and the whole video is awful and slow. I'm assuming this was included to show a warped perception of the world that someone can convince themselves is valid. Likewise, the video with the woman that Google tells me is called Gangaji. I apologize for pronouncing that wrong. She speaks about finding inner peace by giving up whatever it is you're searching for in life and accepting your own situation. This is a disgustingly privileged outlook that doesn't last more than 10 seconds of thought.
Base comrade Joseph Anderson.
Why is she even giving a talk if she believes it herself? Both of these people present their facts as so deeply simple, fundamental, with calm voices attempting to lull you into submission. Clearly I have some perspective bias of my own here, right? Last up is the long video by Brian Moriarty, which was the most interesting of them. This speech offers even more contradictions to The Witness by saying that overthinking can sometimes be dangerous and that patterns often don't exist at all and are just some people seeing things that aren't there. Which is an odd thing to say in a game that...
I forget the term for it, but just that is an actual like human cognitive bias. That's just, we evolved to have certain pattern-seeking capacities. To some extent, like any animal has some pattern seeking, recognize food, light and darkness, danger and safety. But it's one of those things where it's just, it's born out from study, and it's just all sorts of things with just like optical illusions and stuff where, this pattern seeking ability was just created by evolutionary pressure and mutation over millions of years and all sorts of generations, and through different species. There's not a primordial monkey that humans come from. It's coming from apes that come from things that are like apes that come from things that are like apes. yada yada yada, and that it just means that like it's not some it's not some like perfectly honed, it's not some objective like tool. It's just a thing that the meat computer in your head does, and that's why a lot of like optical illusion stuff or just things where like a series of dots moving. The big one is people seeing faces and stuff, where it's like that's kind of one of the interesting ones, that people seeing faces and just the whole like 2 eyes and a mouth and like seeing that as a face. If you ever looked at like an electrical outlet and thought that like the holes for the prongs kind of look like a face, or just if you look at like the front of a car and think it kind of looks like a face or a mouth, that's just the human brain like trying to find patterns and not always knowing if it's actually found a pattern or not. And that's where it's like a lot of fallacy, or a lot of like kind of human fallacies with stuff like gambling and where people, it's like, well, okay, I've lost 10 in a row, so I've got to win the next one. And it's like, no, you don't. You don't, though. It's the same odds. Like, you can just keep losing. And just kind of shit like that, where it's the human pattern seeking is not perfect. It's it's the reason why when you're playing XCOM and you have a 99% chance to hit and you miss, it's like it really pisses you off. There's a game design element of that pisses me off, which is that, I mean, if I can't, if a 99% chance to hit misses, I mean, what the fuck do you want me to do? But there's also a thing of just like, well, did you actually count up like how many times you've had a 99% chance to hit an XCOM? And how many of those missed? Because I can say, like, based off my own, like, last playthrough of an XCOM game, that was like, yeah, I think I only missed once or twice with an attack that had an above 95% chance to hit. So I definitely had hundreds of attacks like that did hit, which is what one would expect. I mean, if you have a 100-sided die and you just keep fucking rolling it, eventually you're going to get a 1. But it's just the human brain is, it's adapted to, fuck around in the Sahara and gather fruit from trees and bushes and climb up trees and throw twigs down at the lions so they fuck off and leave us alone. It's just that pattern seeing stuff. It's a very powerful ability because it's kind of like foundational, I think, to how you do science, like, being able to like replicate a thing and get it consistent. It's it's the same thing where sailors can use stars to navigate because the stars have their positions and orientation in the sky, so you can use the stars as your own like compass. And I think I've read somewhere where I think there's been some like tests done, and I think we've like basically confirmed that there are some like migratory birds like geese and stuff where I think got some pretty good evidence that like they themselves use stars to navigate. So that's, think about that like there are fucking birds that are like, oh, that way's north, because like because the bird has figured out that like that bright spot in the sky at night when there's no clouds is something it can like orient itself around. Fucking birds can put that together. But then you also get humans like seeing a face in the moon, and it's like there is no face in the moon. It's just there's dark splotches and there's craters and the light and shadows hit them. There's not really a face in the moon. There's just, you're a human, and if you see 2 small dots and a bigger dot, you just like, face!
Apparently needs you to analyze it to understand it, but also doesn't want you to. The video speaks a lot about the number 46 and its significance in a number of ways, which is deviously linked to the game since it's the 4th video out of 6 in the list that you enter in the video room. The point I'm building to here is that the game is saying a whole load of nothing with all these videos and audio logs. They're perspectives for the sake of perspectives. They can get you thinking, but the assumption the game has and that it needs to educate you is something so terrible that I don't think I need to speak on it further. The one saving grace here is that it's linked to the perception shift you have while playing the game. When you find your first environmental pattern and are suddenly seeing the island in a whole new way. Are there more of these? Where can I find them? You keep seeing circles and lines as you play, which you're also nudged into looking for by completing so many of the panel puzzles. As I wrote this script, I began to buy more into the idea that these environmental puzzles might be the real game in The Witness. The true ending to the game reinforces this idea. After you go through the secret door and listen to the audio credits, you go through the weird hotel/airport lounge and depart back to reality. Your character wakes up and starts touching circles around the office. He's seeing patterns. Because I started seeing patterns after playing this game too. Circles and lines in my apartment, outside in the street, and shadows cast on the wall from light coming through the blinds from outside. Lines of light on the ceiling while I was trying to sleep. It lasted for a few days actually, and from reading online, I wasn't the only one. I consider this to be the whole point of the game, this infection of perception. Look, the game has affected some change in you. Video games can do that, except it's more like an exaggerated version of the Tetris effect, when you start seeing the shapes and patterns of a game after playing it for so much because of an intense session of a repetitive task. Like I said earlier, maybe there's more to this game hidden away, some secret to do with the obelisks, of which there are 6, and completing the game in a cycle in a certain sequence. Maybe there's some real answer to why it's called The Witness, which I could only guess at being connected to some of the audio logs. The one on the mountain did it for me, since it brought human achievement together and made those who accomplished it know better than the rest, simply the person who is part of the greater whole that got to be our representative, the one who got to witness it. Aside from gameplay, this is all the game had to offer me, and it was done with so much unnecessary obfuscation that the payoff wasn't worth it. Maybe there's more to it than I missed, maybe I'm expecting too much, or hey, maybe I just didn't get it.
And a dream.
And a dream.
And a dream.
And a dream.
Thank you for watching. If this was the first video of mine that you've seen, congrats on taking the chance on such a long video. I have some other shorter ones on other games that you might have played. If you'd like to see some future videos, consider subscribing to the channel. I also have a Patreon page if you want to support me. I try to release 3 videos every month, although I'm cutting it close with this one. That's all for now. My next video will be on Bloodborne.
Now that was good. I like that video. It gave perspectives. Okay, yeah, Super Bunny Hop is colorblind. That's another one of those things where it's just like, how do you want to account for that in a game like this without like compromising the design? Add this video into the game. Now the looker. That's the game right here. Okay, let's think. This stream's gone on for a bit. Yeah, I'm so tempted to do Donkey's video on the looker, but that game's also free and not very long, so I could just play it. And part of me wants to just do some like Joseph Anderson, do some funny Joseph Anderson moments, but not sure how long I want to do for that, though. You know, it's not like time. In terms of me doing this stream, I guess time's not at a real premium. I know everything I was saying, but it's like, I mean, in terms of the content, we watch another funny video, and it's like, you can just stop watching me if you're like done with it. Shit. Let's Thinking Live. Thinking live, thinking real time. Let's do, well, we're going to do a couple funny things. We're going to do a couple funny Joseph Anderson things. Because I like Joseph Anderson. I like the content. Alright, we'll do those two individual ones, and then we'll do a longer thing. Before we get to that, oh, they're saying good boy to the kitty. I already donated to you. Oh, okay, they met their goal. Okay, I was trying to think because I kind of want to pour another drink. But that'll take a minute. Alright, you know what, jeez. I'm gonna go to the bathroom again and pour a drink. That's gonna take me a minute. And by 1 minute, I mean probably 2 or 3 minutes. But since I do want to watch that other stuff, just gonna throw a song up. Hopefully it won't get this stream completely copyright fucked. Hell yeah. Lisa's a good game. I should talk about Lisa sometime on stream. I don't know what I would say. Lisa's a fucking crazy game. It's super funny too, but here's a song from the like kind of DLC expansion for the base game, and this song is incredible. So enjoy it if you don't just like fast forward to the next part. Alright. I still need a second, so... So, we're gonna get the one other Lisa song that is... there's a lot of good... The soundtrack in Lisa is very, very good. This song's also fucking weird. Yeah, I remember that from the donkey video. It's a fucking It's from like Shenmue on the Dreamcast. Oh yeah. All right, so let's do hi kitty cat. You didn't want to sit with the other one? Hey, don't step on the fucking keyboard. He loves to step on the keyboard. Thinks I'm gonna like pet him and I don't know what he thinks he's doing. Maybe he just likes pressing the keys with his fucking paws. Drink number 2. That's why I delayed. Okay, come on, kid. Don't get snippy at me when you're also trying to come towards me. Oh. You can sit over here if you're gonna be like that. Silly cat. Alright, well, looks like their shit burnt down, so let's probably give it to them. Yeah, house just burned the fuck down. Well, that definitely sucks. Definitely a lot of burned down living spaces on the emergency page. We had our other guy before whose apartment burned down. Yeah, fire's dangerous, everyone. Definitely, you know, do what you can. Try to try to, you know, keep all your electrical and heating and wiring and stuff in fair condition. It's the only thing you can do for some of this stuff. I bought a pair of fire extinguishers recently. Got one in the kitchen and one downstairs, just to have a couple fire extinguishers in the house on hand. Shit ever goes bad in the kitchen, at least I got a fire extinguisher right there I can pop off with. So yeah, hey, my house burned down for Margaret and James. Sarah, Margaret, and James. I don't know. I don't care. I don't care what their names are. The point is, see, that's the anarchist in me. That's just like, if someone needs help, you help them. Radical. But have they worked hard enough to deserve our help? Okay, fuck off. Alright, let's do a couple fun. Alright, I remember this one. Yeah, Life is Strange. Me with my partner, we watched Joseph Anderson's stream of the first Life is Strange. We didn't watch his streams for any of the following games. Though I probably do want to watch those. It's just, God, those, I love Joe. Those games, just the sequels especially, they do fucking suck. Just those games do like kind of aggravate me with how fucking poorly made they are to a certain extent. So, I mean, I think I do want to watch Joe play them, you know, just maybe on my own for listening. You know, it'd be fun. But yeah, anyway, just from the first Life is Strange.
I'm not stubborn, I'm right.
Listen to those fat boys.
What are we doing? Oh my god. Alright, hold on.
Give me some.
Aim at that old blue plank here.
I hate old planks.
Oh, this could go so bad. Alright.
Let's take out this wheel rim on your left.
Taking out the wheel rim now?
Oh man, I thought it went into Max's head there.
Hell yes!
Hella yes! Why are we
Nice
doing
shooting,
this?
Tech.
No, rewind!
That's what I'm talking about.
No!
Satisfied?
Like, never? So I want one more uber cool trick shot.
How about using that junker for a target now?
Bumper, windshield,
Dude, I need a target before I
tire, gas tank. Let's shoot the bumper.
Put a real dent in that front bumper.
Goodbye, cruel
I know
bumper.
it's coming.
Oh shit!
Cheese it! We gotta get out of here!
I shot myself! Back up! Back
Stupid gun! Hold on, Chloe.
Stupid gun!
Stupid gun!
Stupid bottle!
Put a real dent in that front bumper.
Goodbye, cruel bumper. Jesus, I shot myself! Ugh, I shot myself! Back up! Back up!
Stupid gun! Hold on, Chloe.
Don't tell Mom, guys. We don't know anything about this.
Actual
bumper.
Actual psychopath!
Jesus, I shot myself!
What a stupid gun.
I shot myself! Back.
Oh man.
How about aiming for the left tire?
Adios, spinning wheel of death.
And then it crushes her.
Uber cool. I cannot believe this is for reals. My best friend is a superhero. Now it's your turn to bust a cap.
You just died 3 times.
There, for the rest of the playthrough, I think just any time there was a gun, Joe would just make a stupid gun crack about it. Oh man. What a dumb gun. Doesn't it know that shooting people is bad? Put a real dent in that bumper. Good times, good times.
We could.
I wish people would stop making fun of this game. It was really important during my teenage years. It cured my insomnia. Amazing comment.
Alright, I know.
+2,
Okay,
chatter.
Oh yeah, Joe has like really bad sleep issues.
I'm not stubborn, I'm right. I went into this game really hopeful. Episode 1 was great. The atmosphere was great. The story hook was great, and everything felt really immersive. Drugs? The only gripe I had with it was the facial animations were practically non-existent, and the voice acting was a little rough, and it brought me out of the story at times. I thought little of it, however, as it was still the first episode, and episodes were to take longer to come out than the first game. When the second episode came out, I was more than a little disappointed by the lack of facial animation. I see a trend. Episode 5 review. So when episode 5 came out, there still weren't facial animation. I'm a little upset. Oh my god, it keeps going. This is so long. So episode 2. But the voice acting did seem better. Then comes episode 3. Episode 3. Still no improvement on the facial animation.
Bro, I got some bad news for you.
So improvement on the facial animations. The voice acting was worse than the first episode. True. The time skip mix caused another bump in my ability to remain connected with the story. And dear all gods, Daniel became the most annoying little scamp I've ever been forced to play alongside. I really think that might be the only saving grace for the story, paired with proper facial animations and voice acting. Because, oh my, did they drop the ball on this episode? So hard the ball shattered, and we were left with a bunch of expressionless characters and unfitting voices. Acting out what can only be described as a soap opera that has gone on so long they needed to go completely off the wall for shock value. I can't believe it came back at the end. I thought he got over it, and then I thought the drop ball was gonna be about like the story, but no, it was still the fucking expressionless faces. Holy shit. Now you're looking and you're seeing. I'm not stubborn, I'm right.
Got Xenoblade Chronicles 2. See, it's something that was gonna come up because I was talking before. I like Xenoblade Chronicles X. It's the only Xeno series game I've played. Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It's so fucking long to say. I hated always like typing in the whole fucking title to search for shit online, but just anime trash. The plot and writing of this game is anime trash.
We're also proud to offer one of the finest open-air baths. Feel free to use them at your own leisure. Oh no, this is going to be a oh no.
Is there a problem?
I guess not. But nice bod you've got there.
A foot shot. Did you ever expect your stream to become an anime weeaboo waifu stream? No, I never expected that. We can still come back from this. We can still come back from this. We're gonna play non-stop edgelord Western games from now on after this.
Now you're looking and you're seeing your every...
No. You know, that'll be we'll do that one, and then fucking Xenoblade streams have some of the funniest fucking clips. Oh my god.
That sounds like a plan, man. I'm glad Trevor is with you tonight.
Thanks. The boy cannot dance, though. Look at that.
With the stanky spine. Stanky spine.
He looks like a Ken doll that's upper body has been locked in place. Penalty for jumping off the car.
Alright, on to this will be a longer one. And this will be where we cap off for tonight. After this though, this is fun, chill streams, and you know, hey, at the end of this, sitting in my chair after a productive day of work, watching videos some guy made. I still donated money to 3 different people's GoFundMes. I helped out those people. I didn't even have to get off my ass to do it. I had fun. People were helped. It's synergy. It's that kind of synergy that business managers jerk off into their socks about.
Oh.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, but in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and
Stanley Parable is a good game. I like that game. I played it myself. It's fun.
And plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Oh shit! Watch out. The hole back there is real deep. Phrasing Toad. Phrasing. I'm scared to hit A for me. Hit A for me. Oh no.
Not bad.
It's Mardio.
Okay.
I thought it would be worse.
Okay, put some of the stuff on it. Put some of the stuff on it. It'll grow. Oh my god. Oh my god. Holy shit. Shit, we're selling the walnut bread. Okay, alright, fucking don't. Fucking don't panic. Don't panic. All right, let's 100. Let's go 125. 125. No, I can't back down. Less, please. What? Okay, one less.
Capitalism. Oh.
You got a deal. Thanks. Please come back. You showed me. First sale.
As it is, he's literally just standing there doing sweet FA.
Broom closet ending is pretty top tier in Stanley Parable.
Did you get the broom closet ending? The broom closet ending was...
I found it on my own during my playthrough of Stanley Parable.
That's exactly what Turbo Button would say. That's exactly what Turbo Button would say. Oh no!
Probably only got the job because of a family connection. That's how stupid he is. That
He's
or with
pissed.
money. Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers. It's good to have you on board. I guarantee you can't do any worse than the person who came before you.
Oh yeah, what if I go back in the broom closet?
You too. I'm at the mercy of an entire species of invalids. Perhaps there's a monkey nearby who can hand the controls to. A fish? Fungus? Look, you can hammer.
The old whoopee cushion in the hand trick. It's
Billionaire
always
Buster's
funny.
quick game reviews.
Okay,
Undertale's a pretty
his
good
text
game.
scroll
You should,
sound sounds
check
like
it
he's
out.
going, and that's awesome. Holy shit, that's such a good use of the text scroll sound. Anyways, you're a human, right? That's hilarious. That's so good. Holy shit. I'm Sans the skeleton. I'm actually supposed to be watch for humans right now. Okay, take it easy. I've gotten a ton of work done today. Why is ton yellow? A No, for me.
It's for me.
Think about what you're doing, kid. STEM is needed. Imagine it. A unified.
Okay, I think the like first comment YouTube showed said it, but I'll say it's a trend. It's a trend I've noticed. It happens a lot that Joe will jokingly suggest something is going to happen, and then literally that will be what fucking happens. So then Joe laughs his ass off, and you as the viewer tend to find it's the whole the hand thing for Resident the stump Resident Evil 7. It's just like, yeah, pour some of that healing goo on your hand. It's just like, how does he know?
Consciousness for all mankind.
Human instrumentality.
You know
Seal's
how
plan for the
back
angels.
in the mid 2000s, everyone forgot about Dre. I think that everyone forgot about Mario Galaxy. I'm sorry I couldn't keep it together. I'm sorry I couldn't keep it together. I tried so hard. I tried so hard to keep it together, but I couldn't. Are you coming back? Okay, he's coming back. Okay, oh, Nia's going to take one for the team. Oh wow, she actually hit it. She.
I can still. Tora can do it. Gotcha.
Gotcha.
Spinning cutter.
Let's show him a thing or three. Meh. Meh. Yeah, he fucking He goes to the fucking console menu.
Oh. Oh no. But it's too late. My retinas. It's too late, my retinas.
This is like a whole new kind of love triangle.
This club really is lit.
I just like her hair. I think
I'm out of here. Bye.
Fuck off, losers.
That's not fair. Everyone.
This is the best game.
Just my very quick side comment on Xenoblade Chronicles 2. One of my problems, look at Pyra. It's too much. It's too much. Because, you know, shit's subjective, but I'll just say, Pyra looks like she should be in a hentai. You know, shock of shocks, I've seen some hentais in my time here on this mortal coil, and it's too much. Too much. It's not she's dressed like a stripper, it's she's dressed like she's in a hentai. And she's gonna be fucking soon. It's so horny of a character design. Like, or there's a part in the game where you're like trying to like go like keep a low profile, so Pyra's like wearing like a poncho with a hood, and you know, it's just like a like brown like burlap kind of looking poncho. And she looks better because she looks like a normal fucking person when she's wearing just a big billowy poncho and not fucking... Oh god. This game, just so horny, so anime, and so horny. It's too much, man. It's too much.
I'm very sorry about all that.
I love this game. This is the best game.
Who likes short shorts? Pyra likes short shorts.
Is that a fucking shark? What the fuck? Oh, we ran right into him. We ran right into him. What? He was just right there. We didn't even have a chance to move, and he caught us. Really? Did that just go straight through the window? Did that just happen?
I guess that's what I do now. I go straight through windows.
I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. This game's gonna kill me. I'm gonna die. Oh shit, I'm gonna die. Oh no, this is it. This is the end. Oh no. Is Rosa gonna have even bigger robotic boobs? The slide. Samurai Pizza Cat's bullshit is this?
Ouch!
Ouch.
Yes. Anyway. Gotcha. Now we're escaping for you. Why not? What's this one smash? You have my what? We. Ouch.
Let's have every character say something every time they do fucking anything.
Oh
that
shit,
won't
he
be
died
annoying.
before we could get the thing on him. God, he said ouch when we killed him.
Ouch.
The Great Void, it's almost completely gone. After all, the Great Void was Ophion.
Where are we? Look.
Up.
We managed to confirm where we are. What? How? Look.
Your eyes, my lord. Use them.
Can't afford to lose any more energy.
Oh, it's the best game. It's the best.
Why would you?
Beats me. I don't even know.
Even the game is like, it's like fuck it. I'm just gonna make characters do whatever I want now. If it makes something happen.
All right. Last very quick break. I will be back in a minute or two. Let's wrap this up. It's a live stream. Yeah. Anyway, here we go.
Malos, is this really what you want?
Huh?
Is this what you want?
Huh?
Malos?
I don't understand the question.
You must understand by now that none of this is your own will. You have to see all of this came from Malthus.
Even if that's true, so what? And don't give me some weak-ass crap about how I should repent or whatever.
Why don't you want to hear the truth?
Here's the thing. I don't give a rat's ass what you think!
Oh man, the getting over it stream was a good one. That game is funny to watch other people play.
He bought it for 130. What? Oh, what an idiot! What an idiot! He bought it at that. I would have gone lower. I would have gone lower. You fucking moron! You fucking moron! I love this game. This game is so good. Shit, it's from Amazon. What? You're not allowed in the... You're not allowed in the safe room. You're not allowed in the safe room. He's allowed in the safe room. Oh shit.
Live and learn.
If that's clear, let's begin with attaching the
You see this shit? Gee,
Get
I
into
wonder who's
position.
the main character. I wonder who's the main character.
You're paying your lives a lot, so don't screw it up.
You smug so-and-so. but why?
Don't take it personally. It's an act
Nothing
of mercy.
personal, kid.
At least you won't be alive to see what's coming.
Nothing personal, kid. Unsheaths katana.
That's not gonna fly. Make a girl smile. Make a girl cry. That's not gonna fly. Make a girl smile. You pass the trial.
Hi, bud. Are
That's
you a
the third
girl?
rule of the Salvager Code.
Or are you a cat?
Yeah?
He's a man.
Rex! Can you help Tora with repairing a puppy, please?
She licking my finger for.
Okay, I'll be right there.
She licking my finger for.
Did I what? You've got a lot of nerve, you one-eyed monster.
Nia, you do know one-eyed monster usually means...
What?
Mithra, why are you blushing?
Shut up.
Yeah, in a better game, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'm starting to...
Open a chest, it might turn out great.
Oh no.
But until then, it's just
Just a crate.
No!
That's rule 4 of the Salvager's Code.
No! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
Make a girl cry? It's not gonna fly. This fucking game. Oh man, that one. When, if later I do a Xenoblade compilation, the context for that line makes it funnier because it's really fucking ridiculous. Cat. Yes, you can paw at me. You have always been able to paw at me. Why is that what you want? Go sit over here. Alright. Well, this has been a fun stream. The 2 streams a week experiment is going well so far. Yeah, made our donations. Enjoyed some fun videos made by other people. And, you know, the world could be a lot more of this. The world could be a lot more of just these good moments. They don't have to be rare. And I guess final thought I'll end on is just there's, if you're a person who's alive in this world, there's always things you can do that'll make the world a better place. Sometimes they're even pretty easy and straightforward. All right, a site like GoFundMe here, you don't even have to get up out of your chair, and you can do something that will directly help someone in their life, and help raise just the general quality of human life on the world. Just that little bit, you can just give some money to someone in need, and that'll make things better. And that's why I critique capitalism, and I'm concerned about the horrendous wealth inequality our world has, and that capitalism in the modern era is producing. And that we just, we have billionaires, and we have these big stockholders, and just, when it's so easy, just a few clicks of your mouse, and just a little bit of money out of your pocket, you can radically help out your fellow human. And we have people who have more capacity to do that than literally any person has. When it comes to giving on GoFundMe, Jeff Bezos literally has 1,000,000 times the capacity to do that I do. And yet, where the fuck is Jeff? Where the fuck's he at? I don't see his name on any of these emergency fundraisers. What the fuck's he so busy doing? This is what he does with his money. This is what he thinks is more than 1,000 burned down houses and families left homeless from it. This is what Jeff Bezos would like to be doing. I don't know. Maybe sometimes he goes to Thailand and rapes child prostitutes. I don't know. Maybe that's also part of his vibe. Man, I sure hope this guy just keeps getting money from Amazon existing, because if he didn't keep getting money from Amazon existing, then if that wasn't the case, then communism, 1 trillion dead, Vuvuzela, iPhone. Vuvuzela, iPhone. Alright. Ooh, almost 3 hours, yeah. This has been good. This has been fun. I've had a good time at least, so yeah, until Sunday. I guess I'll be doing a slightly more serious stream to some extent on Sunday. I'll see you then.